Welcome to FOCGERS, the go-to place for fans of fully on-chain games. Today I have with me Brandon, the creator of the Art Piece initiative that has absorbed the Starknet community. Many of my friends from the Starknet space are drawing art there. Very cool to have you here, Brandon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and appreciate the intro as well. It's a great game, I think. I've been having a lot of fun on it as well.
I'm curious, what specifically drew you to the space? This is like a classic question that I always ask at this Meet the FOCGERS conversations. I understand that art piece, in a way, it could be classified as a game, right? You're competing with others, drawing pictures over one another, and often there are rewards associated with it. So the picture that's there at the end is the winner. So how did you come to this idea, and what were you doing prior to that?
I've come from a math background, and as a kid, I was always interested in blockchain. When I was in my high school years, I was always studying Bitcoin and figuring out how it worked. I don't think I really understood what it was back then. I was just watching YouTube videos and stuff, and thought it was interesting. Over time in college, I really got into programming and making things. I always wanted to make games, so I tinkered with making games, mainly using stuff like Unreal and Unity. Never really fully fledged published anything, but for my professional career, I ended up finding my way into crypto through Coinbase, working at Coinbase, and then now working for StarkWare. So that's how I got here. And the art piece idea, I think it's mainly developed over time from different other online platforms like r/place from Reddit. And we just evolved it into what it is today through figuring out what worked and what didn't and going forward with it.
And how did you actually get around to discovering Starknet? Now, you mentioned that previously you worked at Coinbase. So I'm curious how that step forward happened.
Yeah, so I was doing infrastructure work at Coinbase, mainly running their blockchain nodes, making sure the site was always ready to go for trading crypto, which wasn't really super interesting to me. I was more interested in making things rather than maintaining infrastructure. So I ended up going and working on my own projects for a year, building a whole bunch of different blockchains and just different projects to learn. And I always knew about Starknet in the background as this big name in the layer 2 space. Yeah, I just applied to StarkWare as one of my options and got hired. So that's really what 100% sealed me on the fate of building on Starknet in my personal experience. But now that I'm here, I can see why it's the best place to be.
Can you
So yeah.
share why you think it is the best place to be?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. It depends where or what you're building, I think. For on-chain gaming specifically, I think it's the best place to be because the dev tooling and dev infrastructure is really good with tools. The very basics like Scarb, and we have our own Foundry version, which are very good on the lower levels. And then on the higher level, things like Dojo, the cartridge controller, make developing games super, super easy. And I think another thing that is maybe less focused on for Starknet specifically is our gaming ecosystem, or gaming community, I should say. We have this foundation of 100 or so, maybe more, maybe even 1,000 people that will just play any new game that comes out on Starknet because we have all these cool things that are coming out and they're like, oh, this new game came out, let's go try it. And then everybody will play and then have fun on Twitter. And yeah, having that core base of fans is really good for starting out.
I'm curious, were there any of the Starknet games that specifically grabbed your attention and that you actually started playing?
Honestly, I'm super busy usually, so I don't have a ton of time to play games, at least recently. But some things that I thought were really interesting and really good initiatives were Ponziland recently. I tried to play, but I didn't have access to the early access version yet. I see if I can get into the next one. But yeah, I like how they're doing the finances with the controller. Being able to do DeFi with the cartridge controller is really game changing. And I think it's hard not to mention Eternum, which is probably the most ambitious project on Starknet at the moment, or at least in the gaming space.
Yeah, I think both are good mentions. The land definitely seemed like a fun experience for everyone involved. And yeah, Eternum, I'm extremely excited by that. It is actually my favorite game currently. It's definitely going to be a fun experience. And even the meta game is very specific to crypto games, where even before the game officially launches, you're strategizing, making sure you have all the assets controlled, making sure each player understands the dynamics. The stakes are incredible here. So it's definitely a fun game to get into, as you mentioned. Now, I understand that while art piece is something that has managed to grab a lot of attention in the Starknet space, and I think it's really contributed to the cultural aspect of why many people enjoy being in this space, where on one hand, on the development side, everybody's helping one another, right? Everybody's using different open source tech to build their stuff with. Everybody contributes back to that open source tech. And then on the other hand, the culture is very friendly, very inviting, and everybody is playing PvE instead of PvP, which is a very nice dynamic, I think, and not common in the crypto space. And I think the art piece just was a very beautiful entrant into this dynamic because it brings all the projects together, or all the fan bases of different products on Starknet together, and meshes it into this our place beautiful graphic board where people are drawing on top of each other. I saw the Ponziland guys were extremely heavy with their graphics. I know that there was some kind of Eternum graphic being created. Haven't had the chance to look. So yeah, I think it definitely added a lot to the space. I'm curious if you felt it like this as well.
Yeah, for sure. Something that was very needed is a way to bring together all these different siloed parts of the Starknet ecosystem. I think that was one of our goals from the get-go, is to bring or to create this project that would allow all the people in the community to interact with each other, as well as also provide an outlet for people maybe outside of the community to come and see what our community is about, or see what all of our different ecosystem partners are about. That's exactly how I feel about it. I think we're trying to focus more recently on that aspect with all these different events we've been doing. So every few days we'll release a new, I guess you can call it a theme, where we partner with some ecosystem partner. Recently, like you just mentioned, we did Eternum. We actually have something coming with a Veil, which is outside of our ecosystem, but might cause some interesting dynamics where we try and fight the Veil community on the canvas. And yeah, I think just sticking with these core communities and making sure that they're happy and able to do what they want on the canvas is what our goal is.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I think the art piece product is at a lovely point, and I understand that you're already thinking about some new things that you have cooking because you've had a very position in the space where you've been surrounded by fully on-chain game builders, and you mentioned that you've prototyped or built games in the past, you've tinkered with the game engines. I understand that you're actually interested in exploring the fully on-chain game space in a stronger capacity. So is there anything around this that you're ready to share with the FOCGERS audience?
Maybe a couple things, I guess. So I personally really like making more casual games, or games that you can put together in a few months. In order to bootstrap that effort, I've been creating something. The website's foc.fun, which is essentially an app engine for Starknet, akin to something what Dojo's doing, but Dojo's a lot more focused on games. It's basically just a tool that would allow me to deploy these casual games very quickly. And with that, the first game that I'm making with my team at StarkWare is something called PAL. It's proof of work. It's also a play on words for the action. So it's like a clicker game. So you'll be basically building your own blockchain through the clicker game narrative or aspect. So essentially you'll start out, you'll be at block 0 of your PAL chain, your proof of work chain. You'll mine your first block by clicking it a whole bunch of times with the pickaxe, and then you'll unlock all these different transaction types, and then unlock all these different dApps that you can click to add to your blocks and build your blockchain, and unlock a whole bunch of different layers and unlock a bunch of different features and learn about how blockchain works at the same time you're playing the clicker game. And then at the end, we hope to be able to give rewards when you reach the end of the game to users to onboard them into the Starknet ecosystem.
Very curious. How did you come to the decision that this is the type of game that you want to envision and see through?
So there was a few aspects. One was that I personally always liked clicker games when I was a kid. We really want to focus on building a mobile app, have this standard mobile app that's open source that people can go to and easily figure out how to build their own mobile apps. So I think a clicker game was a very good candidate for that, because it's really simple and also could have a lot of different parts that allow you to do really quick transactions on chain, boost TPS, obviously, with how fast you're clicking. What else? I guess that's the main aspects. I think the original idea evolved. So originally we were planning on having it where you click and just get different types of tokens. But eventually we think that leaning more into the learning aspect of it to introduce people into the space might be better. So we eventually evolved into this blockchain idea where we're building the chain and it explains things and makes things, it oversimplifies some stuff, but not to an extent that makes it fully untrue. But yeah, I think it's a good way to learn as well.
Yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how it actually looks like in practice. Now, I was also a fan of some clicker games in the past. I remember the early Facebook game boom with, I think Cookie Clicker was around that time, right? That was the
Mhm.
first one that I can remember. And that was, of course, fun. Let's see how this comes to fruition. But I do appreciate the learning aspect of players being able to learn through the game. The game has to be engaging as well, right?
Yeah, for sure.
To put that across. Now, in the fully on-chain game space, mobile apps is something that I don't hear of often. Recently, projects have started to tinker with them. I'm hearing many other fully on-chain games are now also starting to tinker with their own. Some games like Eternum will come with kind of a whole companion app where
Mhm.
not necessarily the full game is on the app because Eternum is like a beast of a game, but different aspects of the game and information is on the app. So you don't have to be glued to your PC all the time, right? So I'm definitely seeing that. And more games are going towards just being mobile first. I think Blob Arena being a great example of that, where it's as simple as just it's all on a web app. And so yeah, I think we're the good process of these games, what they're thinking in terms of making onboarding even easier. Now you're going directly to an app. I'm curious if there are other things that you find the fully on-chain game community that they should be focused on and thinking about. Maybe a specific approach you're taking that you would hope that others would be thinking about as well.
Yeah. I think also another mobile app that is gaining a lot of traction on Starknet is Focus Tree. I don't know if you would consider it really a game, but I think they're one of our biggest users, or it's one of our biggest apps in respect to user active wallets. So
Yeah. Funnily enough, just before this conversation, I was recording an interview with Gabon from Focus
okay.
Tree. Yeah, happy to chat about Focus Tree if you want. It's a game that I was also playing, especially the ranked league back in the day, which they sunsetted to focus more on students, which is
Mhm.
completely understandable. But yeah, they've had an app since the start. I have it on my phone, full of legendary trees, rare trees from the early days.
Oh dang. Yeah, I've only got a few tiles.
Yeah, I was a big Focus
Yeah.
back in the day.
I think they've shown that apps are a good way to go. And that kind of goes into what you were asking about what I think we should be focusing on maybe. I think what Focus Tree has been doing is a very good template. So they've been doing, and I think we should be doing a lot more efforts on pushing with influencers, getting influencers to play our games, specifically on things like TikTok and Twitch. I don't know of any crypto ecosystems that are focusing Twitch streamers to play their games. I think there's this big negative connotation with maybe 90% of gamers outside of crypto that just dislike crypto. They'll hear a game as a crypto game and then they just won't play it because of that, or they just will just dismiss it in their mind. So I think personally, us on-chain gamer nerds or people that like doing things on chain can see that aspect and then we'll like the game more because of it, or maybe we will actually give it a shot because we see it's in this space and it's something that's pushing a narrative. But I think outside of the crypto space, it's not an effective strategy. And I think we need to, personally, in my opinion, we need to focus less on marketing games as being on chain and market them as being good games. Instead, get streamers to play them, show them to their audience, show that these games are fun. They'll start playing, or hopefully they'll see the games are fun, they'll play them, and maybe after a while they'll realize that they're on chain. And then with that view that the game's already fun, they can start to realize that these on-chain aspects are actually good for them. Because I'm sure that both of us understand that building these on-chain games, we're doing it for the people, for the players, and to give them the power back. But I think they don't fully realize that yet because there have been so many scams in the space. We just got to get back to the fundamentals and show them good games, and then hopefully the rest will come after. That's my view.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair view. Like I've been in the crypto gaming space as a direct contributor for 4 years now. And at the start, I was really focused on the hardcore gamer perception of crypto in games, where as a computer science student in the past, a good chunk of my IRL friends are all hardcore gamers, right? And
Mm.
the majority, maybe like 75% of them, will never touch a crypto game. And I've tried from so many different ways to explain it. But now several of them are just coming in to play Eternum with me because they find it such a great game. They find it an experience like playing Civilization, but it's very hard to get a big group of people together to play Civilization. And why not even introduce some higher stakes into it, which is very much possible in the fully on-chain game space. So I think there are several things now merging together, several narratives which are, I think, slowly onboarding normal gamers that could care less about the crypto elements. If you go into Eternum, maybe through just the village pathway, which is the easier onboarding, you just spend $5 with your credit card and that's it, you're in the game. It's as simple as that. I think we're slowly pushing through. But I'm also very interested in anytime a big streamer, Twitch streamer, or a YouTube gaming personality mentions crypto in games, I have a big document where I'm compiling all mentions basically, because it's very interesting to follow the journey of how these people think about crypto. Because, for example, on Twitch or on Kick, the other streaming platform, gambling is capturing a lot of attention, this gambling perspective. And I think fully on chain games are a much healthier, high stakes environment where people can have that dopamine rush that they're looking to get from gambling. But it might just be in a very great game setting. So I think we're at a much better place than we were 4 years ago. But I think this will continue to change through a positive lens over the next few years. Fully on chain games, I think, really became possible within the last year to have
Mm.
great full-fledged gaming experiences, and onboarding is becoming much better. And I think this is all going to blossom at some point into something that we don't really understand what it could be. But the gaming industry has basically for the past few decades been what's been pushing technology forward. I would not be surprised if crypto gaming or fully on-chain games in specific leave a mark on the tech space or even consumer space that we don't understand or even are able to predict now what might happen in 5 years, for example. I'm very bullish.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I think also sticking with your point that games are what drives innovation, I think that's very true. Games have been one of the main things that have drove innovation for the internet, for desktop computers for a long time. And I'm happy that Starknet is pushing that and allows all these game developers to innovate Starknet for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And I think more and more eyes are coming to the Starknet game ecosystem and fully on-chain game space in particular. So I think it's a very beautiful moment right now where there's so many different fun games that you can play. So very happy to be where we are right now. Something that I always ask on these interviews is if you had to explain art piece to a passerby, just a random person doesn't even know about crypto or about what it's about, you had to explain it in 2 sentences. How would you go about it?
Sure. I guess I would say it's an online living graffiti wall. Anybody can come and paint on, but if you want to have prime real estate, you'll have to defend your art for sure. I guess that's how
Yeah, I think that's a fair explanation. Awesome. Are there any thoughts that you would like to share with listeners here, with the FOCGERS? You can understand these are fully on-chain game players, builders, infra builders, investors in fully on-chain games, speculators.
I'd say keep an eye out on the art piece canvas. There's always alpha being announced there, people drawing stuff just for fun that it's like alpha in a way for their projects. Ponziland, I think, did something. I've been doing a lot of alpha for foc.fun as well. And yeah, I would say we're going to have a lot of cool apps coming out soon. POW will be coming out relatively soon, as well as my engine. So hopefully I'll be able to use that to make lots of cool stuff.
Your engine.
But yeah, the FOC engine, it's the app engine for building. I think I'll focus mainly on mobile apps at the start, but make it more generic in the future.
Very interesting. Is there going to be any interplay with Dojo?
Not at the moment. Plan to use or maybe integrate a bit with the controller for sure when I start integrating into web apps, but at the moment, no.
Awesome. And you're just calling it FOC engine, yeah?
Yeah, the website's foc.fun, but the website's not really developed much. I just threw something together to be able to interact with the app to do some testing, or to interact with the engine to do some testing. Actually, the whole engine will be on chain. Maybe this is going a bit into the weeds, but yeah, you'll be able to do things like register your contracts, register your stuff to be indexed, and all of that fully on chain. And hopefully in the future, we can use that infrastructure to facilitate payments for using the public engine, for instance, on chain.
Awesome. Very cool, man. I'd like to thank you for your time. It's been a cool conversation. I think we covered a lot of different topics, and I think it's going to make for a good listen for all the builders listening in and everyone else.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the time to talk and inviting me as well.